Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming and for your time. Um, we were thinking maybe if you could start by sharing about just maybe your first experience with Sri Aurobindo and the mother, just to get understand a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into the place.
Sri Aurobindo and mother have been part of our life since we were born. So there is no dramatic moment I could remember when I came to know of them, and it was like some people say we were born on their laps. So it's a bit like that. My grandparents were in Pondicherry in the 40s from the time of Sri Aurobindo, and we were born in the 50s, me and my siblings, and my grandmother wanted that we go to the ashram school because it was run by the mother and it was under her care. It was a very special system of education, and she was everything to them, and they felt that was the best place for their grandchildren. So in those days, mother used to see the picture, the photos of the child, and then she would say yes or no. So I and my brother and sister were all approved by her. She saw our photos and she said yes to our joining the ashram school. And so that's how we. And my mother told me that I saw her at the age of 1 the first time. We would reach Chennai, and then there would be this higgle haggle with the rickshaw drivers who would take us to the bus stop. Then we would get into the bus. Another 4 hours we would have to drive in those old buses. And then as we would approach Pondicherry, we would first get the smell of the molasses. There used to be a distillery next to the tennis ground, and we always associated this smell with Pondicherry because it was always in the air, the smell of molasses. And then something else, and he just felt so happy. It was like coming home. Even as a child, I remember just feeling happy, and then the rickshaw would come, we would pass people and they would wave at you, and they will ask you because the rickshaw goes slowly.
Yeah.
So while the rickshaw is moving, they will say, so, oh, you've come to visit your grandmother or grandfather or whatever. How long are you going to be there? And
So it was mostly your
another
grandmother's connection with Sri Aurobindo and
Yes, yes, yes. My grandmother, there are a lot of stories with my grandmother and the ashram. She was quite a thing now, my grandmother.
Yeah.
Some people say I'm a bit like that, like her. She was this. She and I believe my grandfather were very strong characters. So
What were their names?
my grandfather was Binoy Bhushan Chaudhuri, and my grandmother was Monikuntala Chaudhuri.
Ah.
He was. Never.
And then you had your education here in the ashram, right?
Yeah. So finally, I used to come very often. My sister, who's older than me, joined at the age of 6. Then and my brother joined, who's before again after her, and I'm the youngest one. So they both joined before me, and I joined the school finally in 1969. And school was wonderful. I always tell people if there is one place in my past I would like to go back to, it's my school. It was so wonderful, school.
What was it you liked most about it?
I think generally it was the atmosphere, and the teachers were like your friends. It's a small community and small society, and you knew each other, and they took care of you, and all these teachers were trained directly under the mother. And I selected free progress system, and that's where I thrived because I was free. I could choose what I wanted to study with the teacher I wanted to study, and I made my own timetable. We used to literally live. We had a section, the section where I was. We had each a drawer, and we would come and clean the classrooms, do flower arrangement. It was a whole different life, and I just loved it. And everything was so different. And it was also in this atmosphere, and the teachers themselves carried something in them from the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and they would tell you stories, and we loved it. They will refer to them what they said in this context, and they even made, for example, took pictures of all of us in our section, and they wrote uh, each one what is our characteristics, and then sent it to mother, and she blessed all of us. So, and that was, this is how it was, and everything was wonderful. And our teacher, if we had a birthday, we had one teacher, Torunda. In those days, storytelling was a big thing. It was a big art, and so we were like 8 to 10 children in our section. So for one birthday, he would start telling a story for the first 2 periods, and then the story would not be complete. He would continue in the next birthday. And we just loved those stories. We would be hanging on every word, and he was such a good storyteller. Till today, I remember the stories, and I see everything in front of me. It was, and so, and then if it was a overcast day, he will say, okay, let's all go out. And those days, Pondicherry was very quiet, no traffic, nothing. It was, some people even call it a dead town. So we would take all our cycles and cycle out. Sometimes we would come out of the school gate and say, let's toss a coin and decide which direction we take. Apart from east, which where the sea was, we couldn't go east. And then we would choose the direction, north, south, or west.
Do you remember when was the first time you got the chance to work with the plays, show
Oh,
in this place? Yeah.
yes. But the beginning was not so happy for me, because in school, no, my sister was she was the big star in the ashram, on ashram stage, let's say. And she was this petite, beautiful, talented young lady, and I was this big thing. I'm very tall, no, and I was very heavy, and I was a bit, you know, gawky or whatever you call it. And but she used to get all the lead roles, and she was like the heroine, and everybody used to make fun of me. But fortunately, I'm not somebody who gets jealous. I was very proud of my sister, and I used to make fun along with them. It was also my way of. So one day, for example, Christoph told me, "Oh, I will write a special play where we can have this role of an Amazon, and I'll make you this Amazon woman." They would make fun of me. And then there was a lady who called Amitadi. She was our teacher, and she used to do plays in mother's time when mother was directing herself. The only thing she made me was a bush once, whereas I was under a cover, or a tree standing somewhere. This is my acting career in the ashram. And then once we were teenagers, no. So I remember me and Leslie. Leslie was Joan's daughter. We were in school together. We were very good friends. We went into a fit of giggles. There's an age where you giggle at everything, no? And this lady came and said, "Oh, lower vital." So, I was too lower vital to get any good roles. You understand? So that was my acting career in the ashram.
Wow. And how old were you that time?
So I finished. When we finish school, we have 3 years higher course. Mother called it higher course. That when you finish the higher course, it is supposed to be equivalent to a bachelor's degree. So I finished in 1978, end of October. Our thing was over, 1978. And then I was then my career started. It's not exactly like that, but I went to, I was with my, after a few months, I went to Calcutta, and I met some old friends from the time before I joined the ashram. And then there was this friend who said, there is we are doing this play with the Max Muller Bhavan and Antigone, of Sophocles' Antigone. And would you like to join? I said, yeah, sure. So, and that was great fun. And it was on the churchyard of St. Peter's Cathedral in Calcutta. They pitched a huge tent. So inside the tent was the gallery for the audience, plus the rest of it was like a stage. And his name was, I forget what his name was. The director came from Germany. He didn't speak a word of English or Bengali, but the whole script was in Bengali. But because it was Sophocles, he knew what was being said, and the whole thing was, and so we had several months of workshop, and we got paid on top of it. We attended this workshop. We spent the whole day there. At the end of 3 months, we presented it in that, and I was in the chorus, and there was a cow on stage. Stage means it was a big inside. It was
Yeah.
on the ground, and I had to be at the end of the, because I was very tall. They put me at the end and had to control the cow. And at one point in the middle of the stage, we wail and do all this stuff, in the like Greek tragedy.
No, because Arimani was saying you are really like a seasoned actor. Have done so many
Yeah.
plays with so many directors and so many different artists. Could you share, Srimoyi, something what has because been different or different characteristic you can say working with Sri Aurobindo's plays or the text. How has that experience? How has that been for you? What
Yeah.
has been how did it feel or
I feel it's the ultimate gift of my, how would I say, acting career. I didn't have a career, but my experience on theater. It's, and I don't feel like doing anything else. You get spoiled by Sri Aurobindo. All those lines, and it's even talking about it makes me very emotional. I'm so sorry. Somebody has some napkin.
get some water for you?
So it's Sri Aurobindo is like the ultimate. Nobody better exists. Nobody has written anything higher and more beautiful and better. And thank you, Ariman. So every time I get to do Sri Aurobindo's plays, or
You can take a moment if you want.
Yeah.
That's
so I can't recall feeling anything special except at the end, towards the end, those lines used to also make me have tears in my eyes, and I decided it's better to let the tears run, otherwise my nose gets blocked, and the nose running is worse than eyes running.
absolutely.
I had to take this decision. When you said the second part, no, when Savitri follows death.
Maybe can you
Yes,
call
recording. Yes, sir.
When Savitri follows death, there are three stages. No, in the beginning, he's just telling her, go back and like immortal. The second stage, he says, okay, she's not so ordinary. And then there's a third stage. So it's at the end of the second stage, when she's talking, she's telling, oh, death, if thou couldst only see, and if thou couldst only see whatever, thou wouldst know, and life will, very bad, I've forgotten the line, but earthly life turn to life divine. And it seems Aster had also done, Aster and Amitadi in the ashram. The first time the performance was done by Aster, who did death. She was 17 years old, and Amita, this lady who called me lower vital. She was Savitri. So you understand, she's very refined person. She didn't like all these giggly teenagers. So anyway, so he had written Savitri only up to there, and mother told them, I will repeat the lines. I will say the lines, and you repeat after me. And Sri Aurobindo was in the, when you go to his room, there's a middle room. He was sitting in the middle room and listening to them. This is in 1947, 48, I don't know. Aster told me the whole story. So this part, whenever that is the part where I used to feel very moved. And the funny thing is, I remember every now and then it's as though the lines would, you have been saying those lines, but suddenly one day it's like the line revealed itself to you and say, wow, wow, what a beautiful line, how come I never noticed it, you know? And the lines, some of the lines which revealed themselves to me were lines said by Death. And Otto was doing Death, And I remember thinking, wow, uh, and then I did Death in 2015, and I used to also love saying those lines. Let deathless eyes look into the eyes of death, beautiful lines. So to talk about Sri Aurobindo, it's like the ultimate gift. I always feel every time I have done something with Aryamani, or that it has come from the mother. Whatever she gives me, I will do it. So I always feel it's a great privilege, great privilege, and that too we do it in the Matri Mandir, in that atmosphere with her blessings. It's like she says, "Okay, I give this to you. You do this. You do this." And in my, it's like she's sitting there and she's saying, "Okay, children, do it." It's a it's a tremendous grace she's bestowing on us, and do it in the Park of Unity. Do it there, and I will watch you, and you have my blessings. So what more can you ask for? It's like it's a very precious gift, and I always tell her, "Thank you, mother. Thank you. I loved it. I loved it so much." I always tell her that. Even actually, and one of the roles that I enjoyed doing most, very much, was Death. And then I tell mother, something wrong with me, no? Why did I enjoy it so much? Why? What is it, But there is this part of me, which is very strong and which is just going like this. So I feel that part of me got to express itself. And maybe, so I leave it to Mother and Sri Aurobindo to do with that part whatever they want. So what I did was, before, I remember putting on this costume with this big hood and this grandiose robe, grey, and I would wait in one corner of the garden and I would do pranam to Sri Aurobindo and say, "My Lord, let me do justice to this role." And I would, must be my imagination, he'll say, okay, it's all right. And he will walk off. He'll just tap my head. For him, all this is like small things. He'll say, okay, it's all right. And he will walk off. And then I have his permission now. So I will go on stage, stand there, and go for it. And I loved it, I really enjoyed it so much, I can't tell you, something's wrong with me, you think?
No, I think
I really enjoyed
No,
it.
it's a pity that we do not have a video from this performance.
Which one is that?
It was the first one. It was scenes from Sri Aurobindo Savitri that she played Death.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of the story of Savitri.
Yeah.
And the dialogue was Death.
Even in Nachiketa, you play the
Yeah,
young.
that was a bit different.
Yeah.
There it was, my daughter told me, "Mama, you were scary." And Thomas, who was supposed to play Death, and he backed off, at the last minute. Remember, Thomas?
Oh, yeah.
He wrote me an email. He said, "Srimoyi, it was wonderful. You were really scary." I took it as compliment, to Sri Aurobindo's blessings.
So what helped you prepare for the Srimoyi? I mean, it's a different preparation, no? Because for Sri Aurobindo's plays and they're written by them. So as an actor, what goes in your heart and mind or in your being when you first start? Because also I've heard it's a long process. It's just not a performance. It's a presence, you cultivate over time. So what has been your practices, or I would say, or just, from start to finish, and how do you keep yourself, because it's sometimes 7 to 8 months, 9 months, you know.
You just start in a very simple way, and you keep working on the lines, and you start to understand the lines, and you try to say them in a way that is very clear to everyone what you are saying, including yourself. And that's how, for me, it starts. What am I saying? And I don't know. It is something. In the beginning, I don't know. I don't feel I'm a great actor or anything. I just start. And something. I keep trying, and then Aryamani gives me some hints, and then somebody else tells me something, and yeah. But to go back to death, I remember we used to have the rehearsals around 5 o'clock, no, in that little mini amphitheater. So I would walk from home, and in the walk, I will tell my lines, I will tell Savitri's lines, I will go to this grand climax where death is surrendering to the Divine Mother. And I was so thrilled. I did that every day, Aryamani. And nobody would be on that path, no, around that time. Normally, I would keep quiet if somebody was passing. Some people even passed by, suddenly they came. Me reciting my lines. Yeah, for death, I remember I was going to do the Queen, Savitri's mother. I was not so inspired by it, I must say. And then I want a juicy role. So then one day they couldn't find a person to do death. So I said I will do it. And then after some time she accepted Aryamani. Because she had nobody else.
Yeah, usually you have a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a main character, we
Yeah.
suppose. But it's interesting because for me, in Portuguese, death is feminine.
Yeah.
It's not neutral. It's not
Okay.
masculine. It's feminine. So it's and for me, what's normal? So no, Srimoyi can be a wonderful, wonderful Yama. So why not?
Yeah.
But Srimoyi, before we come to the amphitheater, to the small amphitheater, we perform at Barativas, no?
Yes.
So
yeah,
you have also,
yes.
and you have Perseus. That was something that came mainly from you. I remember you encouraging me to prepare Perseus.
Yes.
Why you don't do Perseus? And I remember always that around Matmandir, you telling me that I should do Perseus. And I was just saying, but how we can do Perseus? I mean, this flying hero, no? How we can do that on the stage? But finally we did, no? And she had a double role. You were the queen and Athena.
Athena, yeah.
So you can say something about this. I mean, a play, no? It was not Savitri, but it was. And the first time that you performed Sri Aurobindo.
Yes. The first Sri Aurobindo's play that I did with Aryamani was Perseus the Deliverer. And I asked her, please let me do Athene. It's the whole story is taken from Greek mythology, but it is really the old versus the new. Athene represented the light, light of the mind, and Perseus, he's sort of the inconscious, the dark matter or whatever.
No, this was
Sorry, that is
the hero.
Poseidon. Yeah. Perseus was the hero, and so it was a battle between Poseidon's champion and Athene's champion. But it starts with them. This is dialogue between Athene standing there and Poseidon from the sea. Very dramatic. So, and Athene is supposed to be white and fair, and I'm dark skinned, no? So I remember sitting and putting makeup on my arms and all over. Whatever, as much as I could, I was trying to look white. And then I had a mask. And then mother had directed Perseus, in the ashram. And they had a shield, which they gave me, which was blessed by the mother, and she had this.
It is a mother symbol.
Wow.
With the mother symbol, So it was great. It was also wonderful, I love doing all this. It's like all these characters are somewhere inside you, and you just have to find them, or at least. I love to.
Has it been after performing? Sometimes, like, was there any reflection, or how it has changed you or transformed you? Sometimes have you? Is there any?
Well, I feel very grateful to mother because I feel she allowed it. That's why I could do it. So I always tell her I loved it. Thank you, thank you. So I really feel like that, that. And yeah, it is also a big work on the ego. There are a lot of, when you work in a big team, this comes up, and mother tells the students in the ashram, I remember that is sometimes the bigger work, that needs to be done. Besides the skill and the art of theater, the other work that we need to do is this work on the character. And but this I've encountered every time, but every time, if you can detect it and refer it to her, after a while she takes it away, and then you're free of it, the whatever friction. And it's not only in theater, I've encountered it in many things, many other things, but you have to be honest and see that the problem is where the problem is with you, and you have to ask for intervention. But the intervention is there, it's gone. You sincerely ask that it is taken away.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
And this transition, when you shift from the Bharadivas to the theater, and then you started exploring Savitri. For me, it was a kind of a big shift.
Yes,
Coming
big
from
shift.
the stage and the big production and all this.
Something else happened.
And then we came to the matrimony with Savitri, and you have been in all of those, no?
Yes, all of them.
So what was, for example, you have done this death with the first one, and then you have done Nachiketas, the death in Nachiketas, that is Yama. And there's no more death, but it's a master.
Yeah, he's become Dharmaraj.
Yeah. So can you say something about these two, how it was for you to work with these two aspects of the same God, that is Yama?
For me, it was very interesting because there was a part of me which wanted to go on doing death. And I really wanted that we do a fourth performance. But somehow it didn't happen. And I had to accept that this is the mother's will. She doesn't, for me, in my personal life, I feel I'm identifying too much with this character. I really felt mother is telling me that, because there were some attempts to do it again, remember? For the ashram, they wanted to come and see and all that. I felt this is what she's telling me. No, you are getting too much into it. No more for you. That's it. This is something between me and the mother, what I understand. And then you asked me to do Nachiketas, and I thought this time you can easily find another man. It's a male role after all. But then you told me to do it, and I loved it also. I really enjoyed it. But this was also this grand thing, no? This I felt I have to be this tremendous God with this knowledge, and I have to. And I felt it was a very nice way of ending my role as death. Also the mother's blessings, where I come with this very wise thing, and I tell you, I loved every moment of it. From the time I came on stage till the time I blessed Nachiketas and walked out, I just loved it, And those lines were so beautiful, so beautiful. I loved because they were so beautiful. This was the Upanishad translated by Sri Aurobindo.
It was pure knowledge, no?
Yeah, it was so beautiful, and it was what a privilege, to be there in this atmosphere and become somebody else and do all this and be this grandiose thing and walk out, It's like, I really think, you see children playing, no? They become suddenly a prince, princess, this, that, and they put a little rag on their head and she's a princess, So it's for the divine, it must be a bit like that. We all pretend to be this and that. We say, okay, all right, you can do, and you get to feel this, and then all with their blessings, we do all this.
Yeah.
It's a big leela, and I just love it.
And Srimoyi, how do you
Yeah.
feel, for example, how is it for you? Because from my experience, all the work that you have been doing, from the plays and Savitri and then Nachiketas and then now Usha, all this work was very well received. No? That for me was most of the time a kind of surprise. I didn't expect to have such an audience and such a feedback and the reactions and this concentration at the end and this silence and people with a tear in the eyes. And always I feel surprised because for me something that eventually should be limited to a small public, a small audience. No, it's always something. So how you see that? I mean, this experience with Sri Aurobindo now. I mean, we perform Sri Aurobindo with this. My impression always is when I feel the reaction of the audience and what people convey to us afterwards is something that is a need, a collective need that is unconscious or subconscious.
Yeah.
That when people are in touch with that, they recognize something that you need collectively. No? So this is my experience as from what I receive. No? Yeah. So how is it for you? I mean, to be there and to.
I feel we should have more and more and more of these kind of things. It doesn't have to be exactly what we did, but what I feel is that one is the text itself, which is like mantra. Whatever text we have always used is very powerful and very pure and beautiful and of the highest kind. Then you have the conviction of the people who put it up, including you, the director, and the atmosphere, the venue. Together, it's a very potent and very beautiful experience, And this people receive, and that's why nobody at the end, nobody claps, everybody sits silent for 10 minutes, nobody is moving, the play is over, We have gone to the green room, they're still sitting there. It's like an experience for them. It's so beautiful. The first time it happened, that was a gift for me because we felt that they have really appreciated, what we have tried to do. And every time it has been like this. And this is what we are supposed to do in Auroville, This, one of the things.
Yeah.
And this, keeping at this height, it's not easy. And I think there should be more and more things of this nature.
I remember the first time we did this Savitri. At the end, Sanjeev, the
Sanjeev Agarwal.
Yeah, Sanjeev Agarwal. He told me that. He said, Aryaman, you have to do this more often, at least once a year. We have to get used to this language. He told me that. Collectively, you have to get used to this language. And it means to get used to his Savitri language, Sri Aurobindo's language. And this is for the future, no? It's something that when we are going to use to be intimate with this language. So when? But it is true that when you perform, when you prepare something, one of the things that I like also, Srimoyi, is the fact, when you do it in the fountain, we have been doing Savitri in the fountain, is because it is open. Everybody can come. Then you have some people that come, they sit down, they listen a little bit, then they go. Then you have some others, then the children. So there is this kind of exposure. And this is something that myself, I appreciate that. That is something that is a gift.
Yes.
No? I mean, through you, through us, something is, Mother is there, no? Bringing that, helping us to bring that to the atmosphere of Auroville. And no, I would like to be able to do more. But so far we have been doing every 2 years or something.
Yeah, because you can't just do it because you decide to do every
Yeah.
year.
No, you can't.
You have to be inspired. No, something comes and you feel, yeah, it's to be done,
Yeah.
and then one does it. So that's how it is. And yeah, it's always, for me, it's always a gift. It's always a blessing. It's a grace. It's a tremendous privilege. All these things. So
Yeah, there's so much spoken and there's so much unspoken. I
there's
think
a lot
yeah,
behind.
Yeah, there's a lot behind, and
Yeah.
there's,
For example, when once one of the dance programs that Grace did was called Four Aspects of the Mother and Her Children. This is long ago, 2009 or 8 or 9 or 7, God knows. And she said, okay, you do Maheshwari. And I tell you, since then, my heart has opened to Maheshwari. There's a special thing. She gave me this chance to be heard, it was like, ooh, and you're that little thing, and Maheshwari is grand, and so that's why nobody worships her, because she is very big and she's very aloof and far, but she has the heart of the universal mother.
Yeah.
She takes all are her children. If you read Sri Aurobindo, you will see. But it's like a very special thing I have for Maheshwari. Before it was only Mahakali, Mahakali, Mahakali. Now there's Maheshwari also. And since then, I don't know, she opened up something, it's like you stand there and you pretend to be Maheshwari, And I'm telling you, it's like really, I felt like some children play acting, So she says, okay, you can do that one. So it's a great joy for us, for that moment or whatever.
No, you said it correctly. It's you're playing it and it's playing with you. It's playing on you. It's working on you. I think these parts and these lines. What was your we can finish it here, but just maybe last just came. Was there any challenge in particular? Like what was maybe as a difficulty like playing Sri Aurobindo's plays, which was like got very difficult for you or? Because the complexities of it also, like it's just not something very, this one is the play, but there's something else is also happening behind that, and I think
they're always I think this managing your ego is the is the thing, that is
so ego in the sense you feel like when you're performing that you are the performer, the sense
no,
the
there can
ego
be like
of the performer
between actors.
Okay.
Or I remember I was not happy in the beginning with the costume. It kept flying all over me. But then I had to be nice to the ladies who took so much trouble to make that. I cannot just behave angry and all that. No, I have to think of them. So it was very bad. And one day I took it and I just threw my dress. You understand? Because I couldn't see anything or some problem was there. So things like that, and interacting with your... so then I had to go and apologize, and they're terrible. So it's always... And then I don't recall... There are always some difficulties with the characters, but then I asked, what do you think? There were some great difficulties in characterization. I remember in Perseus, I got up. I was this queen who was always angry with this Polydown, the priest. I got up and I forgot my lines. So I stared at him angrily and no lines came, So, but these things happen on stage, So one of the things is I said, Mother, please, please, please don't let me forget my lines, All these, it's always, I always, it's like a one-way communication with Mother. and Sri Aurobindo. For me, with all these plays, I have nobody else. And Aryamani is there, the director. But he, you know what Sri Aurobindo says, no? His inspiration comes from the vital world.
But very high vital.
But very, I love Shakespeare. His lines are so.
And Sri Aurobindo, I appreciate so much Shakespeare. How it was for you? I mean, with this difference, no, between playing and the other, no, Shakespeare and the others, and Sri Aurobindo text, no, Sri Aurobindo line.
Well, there are two roles in all the plays that I have done, which I loved, and I still love to this day. One was Shakespeare. In The Tempest, I did Ariel. I was the spirit. I just loved it. Remember Aryamani? And it's this, you're this spirit. You can be anything and everything, and and it was, I just loved it. I don't know. And I had to work a lot. I remember though Jill was directing it, I remember going to Aryamani and trying to create some movements and dance with the thing. And actually I had a soliloquy which I wanted to make into a rap, and do a kind of, it was great fun. And it's the lines of Shakespeare. So powerful. And I was the spirit, and my master was Prospero, and we were on this island, and I used to do his bidding, He would tell me, go and do this, and I did all that. And at the end, he gives me freedom. I'm free. Before I was his slave. And it was, this role I loved. This one, and the next one was death. Something wrong with me.
No, I think it's very difficult actually to be.
And then also, but I also love death as as Dharmaraj, the wise one, no? So it was a nice thing. And then now we did Usha, and there was another place which I had loved was this the second one after Savitri. We did the next one, no, where
Savitri was born.
Soul awake.
Man, the soul awake.
Soul awaken or something. That was, and you had given me beautiful lines. Oh.
I remember you were crying on the stage.
Yeah, I couldn't control.
Wow.
It is the line. It is the last part where Ashwapati is going in search of the world soul. He is there, and he reaches. And who is the world soul? It is the mother.
Yeah.
And she's the soul of the world, and she's inside us, and we are inside her, and she's inside us.
Yeah.
But those lines were so beautiful, and on the way he meets the twin, no? There he beheld in their mighty union's poise the figure of the deathless two in one, seated absorbed in deep spiritual joy. Their trance of bliss sustained the mobile world. Can you imagine? Because they're in this trance and they're blissful, everything runs, everything moves, everything exists. It's so beautiful. It's like another line in Savitri where she says, bliss is the secret stuff of all that lives. So beautiful, no?
Yeah.
It's all the same, no? It's all bliss.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful, no? And I feel sometimes I just tell Sri Aurobindo, thank you. It's, if you had not told us, we wouldn't know. Who would tell us? Nobody would tell us. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't have these beautiful lines. How would life be without all this? No? So it's like, it is when she says, we tries to wonder, what did she mean? It's a gift to mankind, no? Sri Aurobindo Savitri. And then you realize what slowly, something clicks. You know, I know now. And all this he experienced. It is his experience in his personal life. No? It's not something he imagined and wrote, no? So it's like, wow, he was really like.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.